Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Primrose. I am a 28-year-old PhD student at the University of Cape Town, and my channel is dedicated to discussing issues around academics, career and adulting. Today's episode is dedicated to discussing the issue of how to get academic jobs. And by academic jobs I mean tutoring, teaching assistant jobs, as well as lecturing. Now, this episode is particularly inspired by my own journey, and I am going to focus solely on the strategies that I have employed to get me here. So some of you may know, if you've been in my friendship circles or if you follow me on various social media, that I am currently lecturing courses in the Gender Studies Department as well as the Department of Political Studies at the University of Cape Town. Now, that is very rare for PhD students in an African university, particularly former white-dominated university spaces such as the University of Cape Town. You know, even abroad, overseas, there's a lot of complaints from PhD students saying we're not getting lecturing opportunities, we are not getting lecturing jobs, and that is the reality. It is a very difficult, and I was fortunate enough to be able to get such opportunities in this year of 2020. Now, I will first of all start about talking about how I got my first academic job, which was being a tutor. So during my undergraduate years, which was the first 3 years, I really did well in gender studies courses. It was one of my passions. But of course, as you may all know, international relations is what I've always wanted to do. Now, the problem with university spaces is that when they hire tutors, they usually prioritize people that got like a first class pass on the course, people that got the highest mark on the course, because there's this general perception that people with the highest mark on the course are the best in terms of being able to deliver such content to peers, to fellow students. But that is not always the case. So I was very strong at gender studies more than international relations. But what I did was that I sharpened my skills in facilitation. I sharpened my skills in delivering addresses, whether it was lecture type or presentation type. And I did this by joining the United Nations Association of South Africa Society based at UCT. It's called UNASA. I had also honed skills in debating as well as in diplomacy from my high school days, which is a personal initiative when I started a Model United Nations Club at Machabeng College, which is the International School of Lesotho. And when we were given the opportunity to become mentors to first years when I was in second year, I willingly took up that opportunity. So I gained confidence in terms of interacting with students, in terms of asking students what they want, in terms of being able to pick out what students want to know about. And we also had a residence tutor system. It was also unpaid, but the benefit was also to say that I gained confidence and I gained experience. So now, when you're now doing applications for tutoring, if you've done tutoring, whether as a volunteer or not, whether you're volunteering, whether you're getting paid, that doesn't matter. What matters is what? The tutoring experience. So that came in handy. It also mattered that I had been involved in diplomacy type of organizations such as UNASA, because that is linked to international relations. And with gender studies, like I said, my marks were always like super high. So that wasn't a problem in terms of my knowledge of the content. And also what I did was I also participated in various feminist forums. So I was part of a young women's leadership project, for example, for about, I think, 2 years. So that also gave me more skills in terms of being able to engage in gender-based discussions, and we also had to go out and do peer-to-peer discussions. So that enabled me to gain those facilitatory skills, to gain confidence in speaking to students. University students are actually very difficult crowds to deal with. And for the most part, people can't hear your accent, people don't like the way you dress because maybe you're too casual, laid back, or not stylish enough. But what you have to do is to stand your ground, gain your personal confidence. I think you've seen from some of my videos, whether I'm wearing a t-shirt, whether I'm wearing pajamas, whether I'm wearing a formal jacket like this one, but to be firm and steady and to deliver your content, and that will command, attention from people. I'm using the word command here very lightly. So how did I get my first tutoring job? I applied, of course, because they make a call for tutors. Unfortunately, I didn't get the job. So I was like, how on earth did this happen? I know I qualify. I've prepared myself for this. You're even like, I've prayed for this. God, where are you? So I emailed the course conveners for those courses. Academics are very bad at replying to emails, by the way. So after seeing that there was no responses to my emails, I went to the relevant departments directly. I asked to speak to a course convener, and I was like, politely, hello ma'am, my name is Primrose Beamer. I applied to tutor, a course on gender, sexuality and politics. I see that I didn't get chosen. I've emailed you about it. I'm just following up on my application because I want to know why I was not chosen, so that maybe I can sharpen my skills to make myself a better candidate for jobs like these. And then she's like, wow, your name is Primrose, right? And I was like, yes ma'am, my name is Primrose. And then she's like, okay, I'll let the admin add you to the list of our tutors. I was taken aback. I applied. I sent emails. The responses to all that were negative. But me presenting myself in those few minutes, me going with confidence to say, I believe this position was for me, but it wasn't granted to me, and I just want to know why not, because I'm going to try again next time. And in a polite tone. I'm not saying this will work all the time. I didn't even go there expecting to get the job. But fortunately, that is how I got my first tutoring position. So what I'm saying is sometimes applying is not enough. Sometimes a follow-up email is not enough. Sometimes follow-up calls may not be enough because you can't see the person. They'll just mumble some kind of response to just be like, I don't know. And even in that conversation, she went further on to ask me why I was so confident, That's when I brought in, of course, to be like, I actually got a very high distinction for this course and many other gender studies courses. I'm very competitive. I'm on the honors program in gender studies as well. And you can speak to your colleagues about me. You taught me in second year, you might not remember me, but I am a brilliant student and I've got the right skills you need for me to be able to facilitate tutorials for your students, and you will enjoy working with me. And then I got the job. That was the beginning of my tutoring journey in 2015. So it takes more than applying sometimes. I've seen other people, what's easier for them is that they know who the teaching assistants for these jobs are. So what usually happens is that teaching assistants actually help lecturers to pick candidates. So sometimes actually the lecturer did not participate in the selection process in terms of drafting a short list. So you need to know who does those short lists. Talk to them, and speak to them about your interests, speak to them about why you want to tutor, speak to them about if you've got extra space after your preferred candidates. And you never know, you might get the job that way as well. And then, so I managed to tutor for like 2 years. Now I was known, so me applying was just a procedure. When they just saw the name, because I tutored well, they just put me up on their list to tutor in the next semester. So then I left school after my master's. I went to work. I lost touch with a lot of colleagues from university. And then I wanted to come back for my PhD, having quit a job, which means I was totally unemployed. And because I was moving into academia, ideally I should have gotten into tutoring positions. But people now have forgotten about me, Also the ones I worked with, for some reason I lost touch, which you shouldn't do. Make sure, even if it's like once or twice a year, to just be like, hello so and so, to the admin you used to work with, to the senior colleagues you used to work with, and just update them on your life and what you're doing. Fortunately for me, when I came to register, I went to the department where I used to work. I was like, hello guys, I'm back, I'm going to be doing my PhD. And they're like, oh wow, nice. And what else are you going to be doing? I was like, no, nothing, just that for now. And they're like, oh wow, you should tutor for us. And I'm like, tutor? Really? I was like, okay, I would love to tutor, but I've got experience. If you've tutored in the same course for more than like 2 or 3 times, like you need to be on another level. And they're like, actually, there's a course which needs a teacher's assistant. Remember like what I said a few minutes ago, that teaching assistants actually select tutors and they help lecturers, so they work more closely to the lecturer in terms of administrative tasks for the course. And I was like, yes, yes, yes. And trust me, a teaching assistant can earn like 5 times more or 4 times more than a tutor. So I needed that. I needed a promotion, to acknowledge my intellect, to acknowledge my experience, and also to acknowledge that I had new needs. I was no longer that kid that needs 1,000 rands. We need to start talking 5K and above for a job, for example, of that part of like a part-time nature. So they were like, actually, come have a conversation about us. We had a conversation about the course. It was agenda and the politics of development. Presented myself in terms of like what I still knew, the work I had done to continue promoting, the mainstreaming of gender issues, especially because I was now working in government and, a place where there was like policy influence. And in those engagements, with lecturers, they get to pick your brain and you also get to contribute and share, as intellectuals, as equals. And that connection gives them something to say. I want Primrose to teach with me. I want Primrose to tutor for this course. I want Primrose to work with the other tutors because she's had administrative experience. And then I was offered a teaching assistant position. I was given a month to think about it. Hey, in 2019, where else are people given opportunities and told, we give you so much time to sit on it. We understand that, you may not want to decide now that you want to do it, but we're going to keep the job for you. You decide. Amazing. But remember, my past work, spoke for me. My experience after that spoke for me. And also the dialogue that we had also spoke for me, because we were conversing as intellectuals. When you apply, you put down your skills, you say what you can do and what not. But the real proper application is the conversations you have, whether it's a proper interview or it's just a conversation you've had like at a snap where you just called in, let's have a conversation, let's discuss, whether you've bumped into this person in an elevator, whether you've bumped into this person in the shops. So always be ready, interview ready in terms of how you speak. It's not about that one day where you wear a suit, dress like a princess, and then you're putting up this act. If it means you have to act like the intellectual you want to be, like the lecturer you want to be, like the professor you want to be, then do it every day. Be ready to do it every day. Whether you're wearing your PJs, your sportswear, your clubbing wear, or your dinner attire, whatever, it should just be in you. And like I say and what you deliver commands attention because you've got it on the fingertips. Now, that's how I got my teaching assistant job, came back to the university. Another way, make sure you choose thesis or dissertation supervisors who are promoting their students, not only academically, but in terms of their career development. So what do I mean by career development? There's a lot of academics out there who don't even care what the student they're supervising does in their other time. They don't even know how you fend for yourself. But if you've got a supervisor who makes sure that the students that he's supervising get tutoring positions, get teaching assistant positions, then you are with the right person. And also that was my other advantage. But also you need to show that you've got the confidence. Your supervisor is supervising maybe like 20 students. What makes you stand out of the rest? When he wants only 5 people, maybe to tutor, because there's only 5 positions, there's 20 of you. What makes you make the cut for the 5? Position yourself. Personally, I'm a helper by nature, and I didn't even know I was positioning myself several times. Your supervisor may ask you for help with administrative tasks. Your supervisor may ask you for help with writing sections of a paper, and of course acknowledging you as a co-author, for example. Your supervisor may ask you to help them to prepare lecture slides or to help them make an announcement to students where you have to stand before class and whatnot. Don't shy away from those things. That's what makes them see that you're capable. Your supervisor realizes he needs to be out of town next week, or that the guest lecturer he invited is no longer coming. Say, hello, I'm out here, I know the content, I'm a tutor, I'm a teaching assistant, I might as well be a lecturer. Then he'll be taken aback and be like, you lecture? I did that, by the way. And I was like, yeah, I can lecture. He's like, okay, go and prepare the lecture slides and come and deliver the lecture to me tomorrow. I went and prepared my lecture slides, made sure everything was on point, practiced, rehearsed in my room, went to the office the next day, spoke to him, presented my topic on the International Criminal Court and Africa's responses to allegations of the ICC's bias. He was impressed. He's like, you know what? I can trust you with the third years. You can go and lecture them tomorrow, you can lecture them for the next 2 weeks. Of course, the downside was there was no remuneration. These things happen where it's such short notice, and maybe there's actually no allowance for certain postgraduate students to go and lecture, but it's just a once-off. It's just 1 week and you're gaining experience, and you are putting yourself in a real lecture theater in front of 230 students or more. What more would you want? That was it. I volunteered, I put myself in that correct position, and I lectured. Next thing I didn't know though, he asked students for feedback. How were Primrose's lectures? How was the content? Do you understand it? Did you get a grasp of the key concepts? Was he answering questions confidently and well and whatnot? And fortunately for me, I had done everything well and the students were impressed. All of you would know, senior undergraduate students are definitely difficult to deal with because they know concepts, they've read ahead, they read widely, and they've watched stuff, and their intellectual capacity is probably as close to a master's student, as much as you might not believe it. So you need to be on top of your game. You need to be bringing new stuff to the classroom. And of course, you having been engaging in seminars as a master's student and in seminars as an honor student puts you there. So participate in seminars, my dear people, so that you already have sharpened those skills of engaging and skills in terms of tactfully responding to questions. Sometimes when you don't know, you'll be like, I acknowledge the question you've raised. What I understand is A, B, C. I'll get back to you when I go and do further research on this aspect. Or I stand to be corrected. This is what I understand and whatnot. It's all about how you say it, not what you say. Because if you say, I don't know, you've messed up. But there's other ways of saying I don't know. So it's not only about how you say it, it's about how you say it. Now, that's it for lecturing. That's how I got my first lecturing position, unpaid, and it was a stand-in for someone. But I showed off what I had, and the boss above was impressed. The students were impressed. Now, so far I've spoken about how to get tutoring positions and how to get a teaching assistant position. You might realize I never spoke about applying to be a teaching assistant. I spoke about being approached, or just speaking to a supervisor or a senior academic who wants a teaching assistant. Usually those are attained by word of mouth, where at the university where I study at least, because it's not about sending out a list to be like, we're looking for a teaching assistant. No, and usually they do pick tutors from their pool of tutors, or pool of former tutors, or from their pool of students. But like I said, it's only one position and there's so many of you. So you need to try and set yourself apart from the rest and let your work speak for you. Now, to get a lecturing position that is paid, it can be very tricky. The one way or strategy I've gotten is, I was encouraged actually by an administrative officer. She was like, you know what, in academia, if you never say what you want or speak to academics honestly about what you're looking for, about the experience you want to gain, they might just think you're okay with being a tutor, you're okay with being a teaching assistant. They'll look elsewhere for guest lecturers but never think of you, yet you are just right here next to them and you are intellectually endowed. you've got the skills. You even know the students, and you are not foreign to this university campus. So tell them you're able to lecture. Tell them the content you want to lecture. I was like, wow, really? So that also comes with having good relations with people, because I feel like if you don't work well with admin, they'll hate you. They won't even tell you tricks on how to get a guest lecturing position. So next thing, I was pitching my ideas on what I think, the third year course is needed in terms of like teaching new content, teaching new topics. And this was now in 2020, and I was still a teaching assistant. So I was just campaigning just in case. So because we're surviving through a pandemic, I was like, you know what? Let's talk about the state and responses to COVID-19. Let's talk about socioeconomic impact of the pandemic, through a gendered lens. Let's talk about global governance, but look at global governance and responses to COVID-19, debates around COVID-19. Let's look at China, the US, the debates that were there at the beginning, the World Health Organization. What are they doing? What are their constraints? All those are political issues. All those are issues that relate to gender studies. So now I found myself pitching to academics in the gender studies department, in the politics department, and they were like, we like your ideas. Remember, academics are swamped with a lot of work, and they are used to doing research based on stuff that they're so used to doing, and they're repeating and recycling their own content, recycling content from their peers, and they are hungry for new stuff. And here you are, you're presenting new stuff, and you're going to do research on it and do a lecture on it. They would so love it. So that's how I was told, you know what? We like your concepts. We're going to go for this. We're giving you 1 week on this topic. Next thing, I was being given 2 weeks on 2 different topics. Next thing, a whole course. A whole course to plan a lecture for 12 to 14 weeks and get paid for it. Remuneration. I'm no longer getting paid as a tutor, not just as a teaching assistant, not just as a guest lecturer, but being acknowledged as a co-convener because I have presented myself, set myself apart from the rest, shown how different I can deliver compared to the rest of the tutors. I hope that my story, my journey thus far, will help you in terms of positioning yourself. This doesn't only apply to academia, it could apply to any other sector. Try this out. And also, please share your other strategies in the comments section below. Let's not leave that section empty. I really appreciate comments, and I do respond to them. But I also welcome any questions or points of clarification. I am not yet a full-time lecturer. I'm not in a full tenure position. We all know academia is difficult to get into. But you know what? I believe that my work will continue to speak for me. When I do apply for positions, whether within this university or elsewhere, I will have that paid experience, that unpaid experience to refer to. And I have the confidence to teach online, the confidence to teach on current topics, the confidence to teach on old age topics like your League of Nations and the United Nations. And of course, I have now linked up with different guest lecturers, linked up with different course conveners. That is networking within academia.